Welcome to the instruction video of our Simple Budget Spreadsheet. Our Simple Budget Spreadsheet contains a total of 5 tabs. The first tab that you will find is our README tab. On this README tab, you'll find some quick instructions, spreadsheet information, as well as some links to our instruction guide and our video that you're currently watching right now, a link to our Etsy page where you can contact us, as well as to our help desk and tips and tricks sections. The next tab that we've included is an example tab. In this tab, we've shared some extra tips that you can find when you click on these blue fields. All of these tips will reveal a little bit more extra information in case you still have any questions or something is unclear to you. In this tab, you'll also be able to see an example of, for example, what subcategories to use if you're not sure where to start with your budget. Then we have included 2 budget tabs. The 2 budget tabs work or look exactly the same. The only difference is that on the Budget 1 tab, we have included an expense tracker that linked to the actual section. So basically, when you enter your transactions here, your totals will be calculated for the actuals for you. And in the Budget 2 tab, the difference is that it's not just your expenses that you will enter there, but all of your actuals. So for income, savings, bills, expenses and debt, you enter your transactions in the log section down below here. So you select a category and a subcategory, and then your actuals will update automatically for you. So basically, the top of these spreadsheets work exactly the same. The only difference is that in budget number 1, you enter your actuals directly for income, savings, bills and debt in these fields over here, while on the Budget 2 tab, you'll enter all your transactions down below here. This was added based on feedback, as some people prefer to enter all their transactions in a log instead of just their expenses. So basically, you can pick whichever one works for you. You can try out both to see which one you prefer. But basically, the only extra added feature that the Budget 2 tab has is a balance tracker. And the reason the Budget 2 tab has this, but the Budget 1 tab does not, is because when you enter all your transactions for income, savings, bills, etc., and you enter a date, your balance tracker will be able to match which date money came in and left your balance, so we'll be able to update it. On the Budget 1 tab, when you add it here on the top, there's no date added, so it won't be able to create that balance tracker for you. So again, you can use whichever budget will work for you. We'll look at both a little bit more later, but we just wanted to include this option. So for those that prefer to have all their transactions in one section or use the balance tracker function to have that second budget tab. The last tab that we've included is a goal tracker tab. This was also based on feedback, as a lot of people informed us that they would like to keep track of how much savings they have in total, as well as how they're doing on their debt payoff progress. So we have added this tab as a bonus, and we will have a little bit of a look at how this tab works a little bit later on as well. So now that we've had a better look at the different tabs, let's actually start budgeting. So now what you're going to want to do is pick either the Budget 1 or the Budget 2 tab. From our experience, most people prefer to use the Budget 1 tab, as they like to add the actuals just on the top here, but we'll have a look at the Budget 2 tab later as well to have a little bit of a better look and see how this works. Now, what we recommend doing for both the Budget 1 and the Budget 2 tab is to create a template. We recommend doing this so that basically every time you start a new budget or a new month, you don't have to empty out all those actuals or find those budget amounts again or clear out your expense tracker or your log section. This way you create a template once, and every single new month or paycheck you could just create a duplicate. So now to create a template tab, all we recommend doing is first, of course, is to change your currency. Now to change your currency, if you'd like, it is standard set to the $sign. You simply double click on this field, hit the backspace button on the keyboard and type in your currency sign or abbreviation of your own. For example, if we would type in the euro sign here, it would update everywhere else on the tab. Now once you've set your currency, what you can do is now enter all your subcategories. So in total, you can enter 10 income, 15 savings, and 40 bills, expenses, and debt subcategories. So let's enter some examples so we can have a little bit of a better look at what a budget tab could look like. Now, of course, you can enter any subcategories that you like and that work for you. We've just picked some random examples, but if you're not sure where to start, again, just have a look at our example tab and see if there might be any of the subcategories that you're like, oh, I could include this in my budget as well. Of course, at any point in time that you think about a new subcategory, you can just come back to your template and enter those subcategories on the top here. Now, the next thing that we'd like to do is enter a budget amounts for all of these subcategories. Now the next thing that we like to do is enter our budget amounts for all of our income, savings, bills, expenses, and debt. This way, every single month or paycheck, we don't have to look up this information again. We will just have it readily available, and of course, we'll be able to adjust it just for that month or paycheck if needed. So if you're not sure how much an amount is, maybe just put a rough estimate so you can have a better idea of where your money is going in advance. So what we recommend doing is switch to the left to budget section on the top here if it's not set to left to budget. So now if you enter your income here, $2,500 for example for that paycheck, your left to budget section will update on the top. Basically what you're going to want to do is divide your income between your savings, bills, expenses, and debts. Now, you of course can divide it all, so make sure you end up with 0, or if you'd like to keep some for next month or next paycheck, you can just budget how much you need to budget. So let's say, for example, we also receive bonus and we expect a gift of $100. This means that we would have $2,700 of income that we would want to divide between our savings, bills, expenses, and debts. Now, if you copy your budget or make a duplicate and you end up with a start balance, you'll be able to add that as well. So for example, $500, this will then be added to how much there's left to budget as well as how much there's left to spend. But for a template, we personally recommend leaving it at 0 and you just go based on how much income you'll receive, as you might not be sure how much your start balance will be at the beginning of every paycheck. So now let's divide that $2,700 between our savings, bills, expenses, and debts. Now we've entered some fictional amounts and we can see there's still $115 left. Of course, if you want to end up with 0 and use this as a zero-based budget, you could divide that money or you could just leave it the way it is. Now the next thing that we recommend doing is add your due dates for your bills and debts. So basically you just enter in the day that the bill is due, so you can easily see when you need to pay those bills and you won't forget about any bill payments or debt payments throughout the month again. Now, once you've entered these due dates, you might have realized that you've not entered them in chronological order and you would like to see them in chronological order. You can actually very easily sort these, so even if you've entered all 40 of them. Now to do this, all you have to do is click on that top bill, the most top bill that you have, hold shift on your keyboard and then select that most bottom amount that you've entered here. So that for us, that would be car $250. This will select this area. Now what we're going to want to do is right click on this area, click on view more actions, sort range. And as we want to sort it by the due date, which is column number N, we switch this to column N, A to Z, so from the lowest date to the highest date, and click on sort. A warning might pop up, just click OK. Now all of your bills and your subscriptions have been rearranged in chronological order, so you can easily see when you need to pay each of them off in chronological order, which might make it a little bit easier, especially if you have a lot of them. Again, you can do the same thing for your debts. Right click, sort range, but now we want to sort by column AD, which you can see on the top here. We click column AD, A to Z, and click sort. Again, click OK, and it will automatically be arranged in or rearranged in chronological order. Now that you've created your template, what we recommend doing is duplicating this tab to start a new budget for the new month or new paycheck that you have. So to do this, basically again for budget 1 and budget 2, this works exactly the same. You right click on this field and click duplicate. So now that we've created a duplicate, what we recommend doing is clicking on this little arrow, clicking on rename, and for example naming it September, so we easily know which budget this is. So now the next thing you're going to want to do is, now that you have created a tab specifically for the month of December, is adjust the dates. To adjust the dates, just double click on the field, scroll through the calendar and select both your start and your end dates. Now again, this tab works exactly the same way for both the budget 1 as the budget 2 tab. We'll have a little bit of a better look at the budget 2 tab on how the log section works after we've had a look at our budget 1 tab. So now that we've entered our dates and we have a budget for September, what we can do is adjust the budget if needed, of course. So let's say you've entered all your rough amounts, but now that it actually is September, you know that from last month you still had $250 left. So now your left to budget is actually $365, or you want to give every single dollar a purpose in this budget. So what you can do is finish your budget. So for example, you decide to pay more off towards your debt, or you decide to save a little bit more over here. You can enter these amounts and end up with 0, or of course you can just leave it the way it is. Now let's say, for example, you've canceled your Disney Plus subscription or your Amazon Prime is lower this month, you received the discounts only $10, you can of course adjust this for this budget as well. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is once you've finished budgeting and you've set up your budget for that month is switch to the left to spend section. So again, you just click on this little arrow here and click on your left to spend so you can easily see throughout the month based on your start balance and your income how much you have left to spend on your savings, bills, expenses and debt. So now that if you enter your left to spend, what you're going to want to do is throughout that month or paycheck is simply enter your transactions. If you're using the Budget 1 tab, for your income, bills, debts, and savings, you're just going to enter these directly on top. So let's say, for example, you've started your budget, it's the first of the month, you received your paycheck, you've paid Netflix and your rent as scheduled, you also decide to pay your student loan, and now you also went grocery shopping and grabbed the coffee. So what you're going to want to do is to scroll down for that expense tracker, add those dates, add the amount. So let's say, for example, you spend $100 on groceries, and let's say you spend $10 on grabbing some coffee with a friend. You just enter these amounts here, and they'll automatically update on that actual section up top here for your expenses section. Now, it might be good to know that your expense drop-down categories updates automatically for you based on the subcategories that you enter here. So if you miss any expense subcategories, be sure to enter them up top here, and then the drop-down will automatically update for you. So now basically throughout the month, all you do is just keep adding your transactions. So again, for income, savings, bills, and debts. So in the white fields, you can enter your actuals directly. And for your expenses, you can do this in the expense tracker. We've set it up this way because for your expenses, often multiple transactions occur throughout the month. For example, you might go grocery shopping 20 times in a month or during a paycheck 10 times. This way, you don't have to do any of the calculations, and basically the spreadsheet will do the calculations for you. Now we know that for income, savings, bills, and debts, this is often a one-time per paycheck or one-time per month transaction that occurs. So for this reason, we have not included these in the expense tracker, but you can just enter these amounts directly on the top here. Now, of course, if you like to split your bills or if you make transactions a lot more often, what you can do is use the Budget 2 section instead, where we have a transaction tracker where you can add all your actuals, so all the calculations will be done for you. So you can use Budget 1 or Budget 2, whichever one works best for you. So now throughout the month, you'll be able to keep track of your left to spend section. Now it might be good to know, by the way, that if you're using the left to spend or the left to budget graph here, and you're using the Google Sheets app, that the Google Sheets app makes all the backgrounds of the graphs white instead of transparent, which means that this amount is not visible to be read on a Google Sheets app. If that is the case and you're using it on the app, just know that you can read this exact amount on the bottom section of your cash flow here, both for how much there's left to budget and how much there's left to spend. All your other graphs update automatically, and when you click on them, you'll be able to see the exact information. And again, this information can also be found in the cash flow section. And this is just a breakdown of how much of your money went to bills, how much went to expenses, how much went to debt, and how much went to savings. Down in the bottom, below your expense tracker, you also have a spending chart and a spending breakdown, where you can see a breakdown of all subcategories and basically where your money went. So throughout the month, when you add transactions, both in the top here and in the expense tracker, the spending breakdown will update automatically for you. This way, you'll easily be able to see where your money went and possibly where you could save a little bit more money in the future. And that is basically how the first budget tab works. Now, there is a tip that we would like to share, and that is if you have a very long tab like this, but there are rows that you do not use at all, what you can do is hide these rows to create a little bit more of a compact view. To do this, just click on the top row, hold Shift on your keyboard, click on that bottom row, right click and click Hide Rows. This way, all of your rows are still available, so at any point in time in the future you still want to use them, they will be there for you, but you will have a much more nicer and compact view. If you want to use these rows again, just click on those little arrows and they will be made available for you again. The last tip that we want to include about the budget tab is basically what to do when you delete a formula. So in these orange fields or in these colored fields, there are formulas that will load your actuals, how much there's left to spend, but also on the top here, your totals of your budget and actuals for each of the subcategories. Now in duplicates of a tab, the warning that we have added to the template, for example, if here we would make an edit and delete this information, a warning would pop up. Now when you create a duplicate, those warnings are deleted. So here, we could easily have deleted the formula just now, but we would not know because basically we would have not received a warning. So now what you can do to restore this formula is basically look at the fields. This was field number X number 19 next to dining out. You just go to the template, click on that field, right click and click copy. Go to your template and click paste. And this will now restore the formula. For example, if we would have deleted at 10, now what we do is we go here next to coffee, click copy, click paste, and now our formula is restored. So that way at any point you've accidentally deleted it, just know you can just copy the same field from your template and restore it very easily just like that. So now that we've had a better look at budget number 1, let's have a better look at budget number 2 before we have a look at our goal tracker tab. So the setting up of budget number 2 works exactly the same way as how we've set up budget number 1. So again, you just enter your subcategories, your budget amounts, and your due dates. And then once you've created a template, again, click on the little arrow and click duplicate. Basically, so far, everything works exactly the same way as the budget 1 tab. Now, the only difference is that once we've created a duplicate and we start a budget, so let's say again, for example, we want a budget for September, we adjust those dates, still exactly the same way. We adjust our currency if needed and add a start balance if needed. Let's say, for example, we had $500 left, we just add that here. Everything up to this point worked exactly the same way as the budget 1 tab. Now the only difference is that once that month starts and you want to add your actuals, is instead of entering them on the top here for income, savings, bills and debt, you just enter all your transactions in the bottom section down below here. So basically just make sure you don't enter any information in the colored fields. Now again, because this is a duplicate, you will not receive any warnings. So if, for example, here in rent you decide to type in the $1,000 that you've paid here, just know that this will not pop up in the log section or in the spending breakdown, as it takes this information from the log, or in your balance section here. But you will not be warned because this is a duplicate. So again, just go here, go to your original template tab, copy the formula by right clicking and clicking on copy. Click on the field and click paste. So now if we would enter the rent that we have paid in the bottom here, we select bills as it is a bill and we select rent, we can now see that it updates our balance tracker, it is updated in our spending breakdown, and it now automatically updates our actual. So now because we enter all transactions here, the spreadsheet is able to create a day-by-day transaction log and update your balances here throughout the month or throughout your paycheck. So let's say, for example, the 2nd of September, you received that paycheck. So we just select income, we select paycheck, and we can see our balance now will start to update throughout the month. So again, 1st of September, we forgot, we spent $10 on coffee. 3rd of September, we went grocery shopping for $150, so it'd be considered an expense, groceries. We can see that that balance here will now start to update, our spending breakdown updates, our spending chart will update, and all the transactions automatically on the top will update automatically for us as well. So now also here we can switch to the left to spend section so we can easily see how much we've left to spend. So now also in this budget, we can switch to the left to spend section so we can easily see how much is left to spend. We can mark off bills as paid, credit card as paid once we pay them off, and basically keep track of our spendings and our income throughout the month. And that is basically how this budget tab works. Now the last step that we want to include is that when you enter a lot of transactions like this, you might not add them in chronological order, but you might prefer to see them in chronological order. If you would like to sort them in chronological order, all you have to do is click on the top field, again hold shift on your keyboard and click on the most bottom row transaction that you have and make sure to include those details if you've added any. Now you've selected these fields, right click, click on more actions again, sort, and now we're going to sort by column D, as that is our first column where the dates are entered. Click sort, and it will automatically be sorted in chronological order for you. Now that's just the last little tip we wanted to include before we head over to our last tab, the Goal Tracker tab. Our Goal Tracker tab was added based on popular demand, as a lot of customers requested to have something in this spreadsheet to keep track of how much they've saved in total and how much there's still left to pay off towards their debts. So we've included a total of 30 spots for savings and 55 spots for debts, so that if you pay any off and you have more in the future, you can keep track of all of them in one easy to use tab. So basically for savings, all you have to do is just go to your budget, whichever budget tab you used, and copy over those savings that you have. So wedding, car, renovation, and holidays. So we just add these here. And if you'd like, you can add a goal date, a goal amount, if you have any money saved already, a start amount, and then the purple fields saved, left a goal, and your progress will update automatically for you. So let's say, for example, we want to save $15,000 for a wedding. We've already got $5,000 saved. Now we can see there's still $10,000 left to save, and we're about a third on our progress. So now what you can do to keep track of those savings is enter those savings transactions in the bottom down here. So basically at the end of your paycheck or the end of the month, you can just copy that information over. So let's say, for example, you saved $100 this month to put towards your wedding, and this was in September. Let's enter that information here, and now you can see $100 saved, your left to goal, and your progress have both updated. Now you do have to enter this information manually on this tab for the reason that we could not link it to the budget tabs. These are templates, and then basically every time you would create a duplicate, the spreadsheet would not automatically be able to add the amount that has been added in the duplicate, so it would not update. So for this reason, once a month we just recommend, or once a paycheck recommends adding that information here so you can easily keep track of that progress. Now it might be good to know that at any point in time that you need to withdraw money from savings, you can just log a transaction as well, but what you do is just enter a negative transaction. So let's say, for example, instead of saving $100 this month, you took $100 out of the fund. What you do is just log a negative transaction. Now you can see that your left to goal has gone up because you've spent more money from the sinking fund. Now the next section we've included is your debt payoff section. So what you can do for the same thing, basically, we had student loan, credit card, and credit card. So we just enter this information here. And credit card. And if you'd like, you can enter your type of debt, and if you want a goal date, and what you can do is just enter the start amount. So let's say we have $15,000 in student debts, $5,000 on each credit card, so we can just enter this amount here, and then you're paid off, and how much there's left to pay off updates automatically for you based on the information you enter in the log section. So let's say, for example, on the 1st of September, you paid $500 towards credit card number 2. When you enter that information here, you can see you've paid off $500, so there's still $4,500 left to pay off, and basically you've completed 10% of your payoff. Now, to make this more accurate, we've also included the option to basically make adjustments in this log. So let's say, for example, at the end of September, so the 30th of September, you were charged an extra $45 on interest on that second credit card. So that is the opposite of paying it off, as it got charged to the card. So we make this a negative transaction. And now basically you can see that your left to pay off is updated. In total, you've paid off $500, but $45 got charged on the card. So now you've paid off $455, and there's still $4,545 left to pay off for that month. This works the same way, for example, if you want to use the credit card. So let's say on the 14th of September, you went grocery shopping on this credit card. So again, the opposite of paying it off would be a negative transaction. So we entered at minus $100, credit card number 2. And we can see that now there's still $4,645 left to pay off. So we're 7.1% has paid off on our credit cards. Now we wanted to include a lot of extra rows for those that, for example, want to add more sinkings or saving funds or extra debt. But if you don't use any of them, or you don't use a lot of them, you can make this view a little bit more compact by hiding rows. You just do this again, click on the top button, hold Shift on your keyboard, click on the bottom button, right click and hide rows. Click OK, and this way you have a nice little compact view of both your savings and debt. You can do this as well. Any point you need them, you just unhide these rows. Again, click OK, and they'll be available for you to use again in the future. And that is basically how our budget spreadsheet works. If you have any other questions, be sure to send us a message. I'll leave some contact information in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.